Imagine a world where people were caged and put on display simply because of their ethnicity or culture. This unsettling reality was the foundation of human zoos, a practice that represents a shameful chapter in global history. From the late 19th century well into the mid 20th century, human zoos were disturbingly common in Europe and America. These exhibitions included people from Africa, Asia, the Americas, and the Pacific Islands, all forced into living dioramas designed to showcase the so-called exotic ways of life. During the peak of the colonial era, imperial powers sought to illustrate their dominance and the diversity of their conquered territories. World fairs and colonial exhibitions served as prime venues for these human displays. The Paris Exposition of 1889, for instance, most famous for introducing the Eiffel Tower, also featured over 400 people in recreated villages. In this supposed display of multiculturalism, indigenous people were considered objects of curiosity and entertainment, their dignity stripped for the amusement of crowds. These exhibitions were hardly innocent cultural revelations. Instead, they perpetuated deeply rooted stereotypes and reinforced racist ideologies. With pseudo-scientific racism gaining traction, these human zoos dehumanized participants by portraying them as living relics of a primitive past, in contrast to the so-called civilized white society. This further cemented the erroneous belief in racial hierarchy that justified colonial exploitation and suppression. The lives of individuals forced into these spectacles were often marked by exploitation and suffering. Benga, a Congolese man, became the unwitting face of this brutal practice when displayed in the Bronx Zoo in New York as part of its primate exhibit in 1906. Although public outrage eventually led to his release, his life remained tragic until its end. The legacy of these human zoos isn't just a relic of the past, it has a profound impact on our present. The cultural and psychological scars left by the dehumanizing displays contribute to persistent racial stereotypes and prejudices. Acknowledging this history is crucial in understanding and dismantling systemic racism today. In recent years, there has been a growing movement to confront and reconcile with this dark chapter of history. Museums and institutions that once held these exhibits have begun to acknowledge their part in this oppressive narrative. Conversations around human zoos are encouraging a critical examination of how indigenous and minority cultures are represented, even in modern times. In conclusion, human zoos serve as a sobering reminder of the lengths to which imperial powers went to assert dominance and superiority, exploiting the vulnerability of individuals relegated to entertain the masses. By revisiting this past with honesty and empathy, we can better appreciate the need for dignity, respect, and genuine understanding in our diverse world. Embracing our shared humanity while reckoning with historical injustices paves the way for a more inclusive future